got some charges that we won't be here tonight, probably. Can't really deal with that. Butch, how you doing? Yep, I did. I didn't have it printed out. I was trying to read it. It was upside down.
Yeah, Jimmy's gonna be, he's in traffic. See, got 15 minutes later, so if we get to that thing about the teachers, he wants us to wait and get some about teacher salary, so we'll skip over it. So
Oh, okay.
it's okay. Yeah, go ahead and take that. That's gonna sign.
This is already signed. I believe. Yeah, okay. I'll do the pledge.
Take this on prayer.
It doesn't matter. You want me to do it?
Is that what we're saying on this part?
I thought it was on this side. This side. You told him.
I think it might have been.
It was that though, that side.
I don't
It was on
remember.
this side.
All right, we're gonna start this thing.
That's if Brown want to do it. Real.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody here okay in the back? All right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. We're going to call this meeting to order, and first of all, we're going to ask, Commissioner Ward has agreed to lead us in our prayer, and Commissioner McCoy is going to lead us in our pledge. So,
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day you have given us. We thank you again for life, health, and strength. And Father, we ask you that you will come by to this meeting, dear God, that we are able to deliver the meeting in a way that you will have us do. Dear God, give us the knowledge and the understanding, dear God, that we are leading your people in the right direction. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
okay, the first item on our agenda is going to be under public information. We're going to ask that Miss Tammy Paris come to the podium, please. She's going to give us, we're going to give her a recognition for something, but also she's going to update us on her efforts to raise awareness about brain aneurysms, and then I have a presentation for her. Ms. Paris, please.
Good afternoon, citizens, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Duvall. I was here back in October, I do believe, and I gave an update as to my own personal experience as a brain aneurysm survivor. March 28th of 2012 will be my 2-year anniversary. This is a cause that is very near and dear to my heart, and after recovering and after going through the motions of this traumatic event, I'd made a decision that I needed to do something because I was left here to do something. So I started advocating back in September for brain aneurysm awareness, and my advocacy started by asking our local mayors and town officials to do proclamations urging Governor McCrory to declare September as Brain Aneurysm Awareness Month in this state. I started out with 4 or 5 proclamations, and to date I have 17 proclamations. And I'm very happy to report and very excited to share with you that Governor McCrory did in fact declare September as Brain Aneurysm Awareness Month. And I was presented the official proclamation on December 6th at Cape Fear Community College in Wilmington by Chris Millis, our District 16 representative. And this has been a very, very exciting and fast-moving thing that I have been involved in. And as citizens, I'm urging you to please get involved also. There is an opportunity for you to sign an online petition, and I do believe it is still currently posted on the website for the county site. If you go to the county site, you should be able to click on the link that has brain aneurysm awareness attached to it. And what this does is allows you to do an online petition, simply putting your name, your email address, and basically saying, yes, I think we need to raise awareness for brain aneurysms. This is a very deadly and traumatic thing that happens. Every 18 minutes in this country, somebody suffers from a ruptured brain aneurysm in their head. 40% usually die as soon as it happens. So I know how lucky I am to be standing here before you, not only as a survivor, but if you look at me, I appear to be normal to you. And I know there's a reason for that. So I urge you to sign the online petition, if you will. And I want to share with you that I'm going to Washington, D.C. in May. I have been asked by the Brain Aneurysm Foundation to go before Congress and give my testimony as a survivor for Lobby Day, which is going to be in May. And there is a national movement that is currently going on right now in Congress, and this is something that has taken off like wildfire. And I wouldn't say that I am the reason for that, but I am a contributing factor, and I'm proud to say that. I was recently on the front page of the Star News, December 27th. Some of you may have seen the article, some of you may have not, but it was me, and it was the story that was written about me. I think the young lady did a very good job of doing that. I've also been interviewed, and I have a TV interview that was done in November. News 14 did that. So I have had opportunities, and I have had doors open to me to educate people about the dangers of brain aneurysms and the warning and the symptoms. And I have material that has been supported to me by the Brain Aneurysm Foundation. And I would love to share some of that with the health department. Pamphlets, DVDs, contact information of how you can get involved. This is more than what people know about. People have never been educated about it before, and I can tell you I knew nothing about it until it happened to me, but I learned really quick. I made it important, and the statistics are just, they're terrible. They're terrible, and we need to start looking at awareness and seeing what we can do for research and development and future procedures that are going to be offered. And one thing that I'm going to be campaigning for, and I use that word lightly, is the insurance companies need to recognize that a CT scan should be afforded to everyone, not only for this, but the only way to truly know if you have an aneurysm in your head is to have a CT scan. So I'm advocating that that be part of your wellness visit. If you have insurance, just like women go for mammograms to detect breast cancer, men are detected for prostate cancer, I'm asking that CT scans be looked into to possibly help save lives from brain aneurysms, because it does kill people. I thank everyone for me being able to come back and share with you, and I would love to come back when I come back from Washington and give you an update. I do foresee some great things happening. I've already been told that a resolution is being drafted and will go before the long session. And hopefully by January of 2015, we will see some documentation that makes this a national movement. And that's what we need. That's truly what we need. So I thank you for your time, Mr. Board members. Thank you.
Tammy, I'm going to read this certificate, but like you stated before, hindsight is 20/20.
Yes.
Looking back, you go, I remember that, or how did I not know that? Well, if you've never been told, sometimes you don't think. I had something that happened to me a few years back, and looking back on it now, I should have known, dummy. but not saying that applies to you. But yeah, it is about awareness, and you've seen insurance companies geared toward more preventative stuff.
Yes.
The less you and I all stay out of the hospital, the better it is for all of us in the long run. Or all so, nothing's important as a life, but also awareness and preparation helps us all every way. And maybe I need to always practice what I preach, but we all have little challenges sometimes. But Tammy, it says special recognition for promoting aneurysm awareness at the national, state, and local levels, especially in Pender County, North Carolina, is awarded to Tammy M. Paris, January 21st, 2014. And I know that getting my fellow commissioners on board and staff on board was about the easiest sale anybody's had around here in a long time. And we all like to be a part of those, so congratulations.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you. Keep up your work. Before we move on, anybody else have any comments or questions before we go to the next item? And I will not make it a habit of dominating the public information part, I promise you that. But these things happen to come up. Next, Ms. Painter, will you come up, please? On the item is recognition of Kelly Painter, Family and Consumer Science teacher, Topsville High School, Hampstead, North Carolina. And I've had a lot worse things told on me than this, but I showed up for an event there one day, albeit 1 hour late. I had it on the right day, had it on the wrong time. But I had not been in the high school in a while and was made aware of. I'll let you tell a little bit about the event that was going on there as far as the coffee shop goes. And basically, it's a real world functioning business training. It's beyond what I called home ec stuff when I was coming through. It's all
sure.
way beyond that kind of stuff. So I'm showing my age. But Tammy, please give a little explanation about what you're doing, and then I'll read a certificate for you.
I'm the culinary arts and foods and nutrition teacher at Topsville High School, and as part of our curriculum, we're always expected to have some type of an entrepreneurship type project for your students. For culinary arts, we run a restaurant, but for my other classes and the culinary arts in addition, we came up with the idea of having a coffee shop. Long story short, it's got a long history, but anyway, the community got behind it. Our students have been amazing as far as getting this thing, off the ground. And in December, we opened up really our second coffee shop. We had to get rid of the first one because it was originally wired as a computer lab, and because of school growth, we had to move out. So we started all over again from the ground up this past fall. Our coffee shop is a professionally run commercial coffee shop. Everything in there is commercial grade, so it's just like going to a Starbucks or something in the community, but it's within the school, and it is run by my students. And the way it's such a win-win is they work their hours, we keep up with their hours and convert that to money, not in the sense of giving them a paycheck, but instead I pay for all of their expenses for their state competitions, and when they win at state level, we take them to nationals. That can be expensive. So this coffee shop helps them pay for all of that, and it doesn't have to come out of mom and dad's pocket. They get to work for it and earn it. So for that reason, that makes me happy, and it makes parents happy. But anyway, it's just a good way to give them a real work experience, learning how to work in a coffee shop. And I've had several students in the past that have received jobs because of their time and experience in our coffee shop. That's what we do.
I'm going to read this. Special recognition for promoting entrepreneurship and other real-world tools for students is awarded to Kelly B. Painter, January 21st, 2014. And thank you for, I guess I got a better tour because wasn't as crowded when I finally got there.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. My daughter will be visiting it next year, I'm quite sure, as she enters high school.
Oh, yeah, she'll be there. They love it. Thank you.
And can I say this before Ms. Painter
Yes, sir.
leave and sit down? Ms. Painter, if you would, just introduce your group, that your students that came to you, and maybe we can get a picture with Mr. Williams down there saying y'all can come up in the front.
Yeah, y'all come over here.
We're not going to bite.
I forgot to give you this as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, please introduce your folks, please.
Okay, this is Andrew Burleson, and he is the Vice President of Motor Code. That's the name of our coffee shop for our club, FCCLA. Megan Horrell and Anna Tuning, I'm sorry. Both of them are actually doing a competition for the state, promote and publicize FCCLA, and part of that is exactly what we're doing right now. That's why I have them here, so they can be a part of this, so they can be in as part of their competition. And then Cody Kurala is a new student in our school this year, and he has jumped right in with both feet. His dad helped build part of our Mocha Cove. He's very involved in it. He'll be interning with me next semester working in the Mocha Cove 4th period. So these are 4 of my stars, and I just wanted to bring them with me today.
Congratulations, all of you. Next on our agenda, if anybody have any other comments regarding that item before we move along?
I just like to think it's great that the schools are doing this, hands-on experience in business and not just to see the real world, how business works, and I think it's great.
Thank you. I do too. I was impressed with it. Next, we have public comment, and the sign-up sheet is up here. And I would ask, roughly, we want everybody to be heard. I think we have a lot of people for public comment, if I'm not mistaken, today, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
So how many folks do we have?
Looks to be about 12 or 15.
Okay. We want everybody to be heard, but obviously if everybody's up there for 10 or 20 minutes, we want to be respectful of that. If somebody said something that you agree with, feel free to do that. We'd like for you to identify yourself and where you live when you come up for public comment. And we'll keep this within a reasonable amount of time. Public comment, sometimes we can't always answer what people's ask us about, but somebody wants it on the record, and we respect that and appreciate that. It takes courage to get in front of a microphone. So we'll keep this moving along. We want you to be heard, or we want your opinion to be heard, and that applies no matter what you're here for. So let's go down the list, please, Mr. Attorney, and everybody take a couple of minutes, and let's try to move along there. And then if we have to come back at the end to address something, we will, or the attorney may have to answer a question or two, because I've had some people tell me they were coming today and what they were coming for. I have no idea if that's what the majority of folks are here for or not. So we'll do the best we can, and we'll all be respectful, and we appreciate you coming to the meeting. So please start the list.
Yes, sir. Roxy Hanman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Roxy Hartman. I'm from Walker, North Carolina, and I've been on hood for like 10 or 15 years now. And Miss Lee was in there by herself, right? I mean, somebody else was in there. But anyway, before I get started, I wanted to ask anybody that can answer this question for me up there. She told me, Miss Judy, the lady that's in there with her now, she real disrespectful. I'd rather not talk to her anytime I go there. So she told me that anybody that come up here to this meeting, herself, she told me this, that we would get kicked off in the hood. First of all, I want to know if that's true.
Well, I think we need to let the folks at home know exactly, or Mr. Attorney, we're talking about a housing issue. Is that what we're talking about? And so a lot of folks may not know who you're referring to. But I don't think we prohibit anybody from signing up for public comment or kick somebody off a HUD. So maybe you need to state a thing or two, make sure you're perfectly clear about that, what we can and can't talk.
But I do know you can speak your mind, and I come anyway because I come to speak my mind.
We welcome people to do that. And
Okay.
I'm clearing that up right now.
It would be unlawful, I'll say, to take retribution against anybody to kick them off because of speaking their mind. The qualifications are what they are, and those are objective. So if somebody, as long as they're still qualified, they're still qualified.
Well, I knew that anyway, but I wanted to speak that before I went to talking or what it was, because whatever it take, I would do. But I do come up here today.
I'm sorry, can I ask Chairman a question right quick? What did you say your name was again?
My name Roxy Hartman.
The last name?
Hartman, Hardman.
And you stated that she's inform you if you
Yes,
come today
I'm
that
not
you
the
will be
only
removed
one.
from HUD?
Yes,
Okay.
and I said I was gonna respect that first.
So you aware you speaking to the record?
Huh?
You speaking on the record that she told you that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And
That's
not,
pretty serious, in my
not,
opinion.
okay, not only that, as every time that I have been on HUD, Miss Lee have, not disrespected me or no one in there. And several times I've been in there. She, had to shut her door. She was disrespecting her, and she would tell her that she's trying to do her job and stuff like this, and this and that and other. And me personally, working with somebody up on a government job, I told her, how can you take this? You know what I'm saying? I was ready to do what I had to do myself. I haven't just say it like that in a nice way. So she said, no, I got it. I got my job. But she was heated too. You know what I'm saying? She go on and on. You could call Miss Lee on the telephone, and you asked to speak to Miss Lee. Is it anything I could do for you? We say no. And several times she would, be so respectable and stuff. And I personally don't like her. And if I call and she answers, I hang up. She don't know who hang up, which I didn't care if she did. But it was like that, and she was mostly been trying to get Miss Lee out of there anyway. And every time you look, she was saying that Miss Lee did something, but it was her. When they come out to, to do your house with inspection and stuff, like I said, I've been on HUD for 10 or 15 years. I never had this done till she come in. Okay, the last time I had the inspection to my house, me and my landlord, you usually, when you in your house, you want to see what's going on or what they're looking at or whatever. Ain't nothing wrong with walking behind you as they do it, is it? Would you say?
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm
Ma'am,
not,
I need, so you're not happy with somebody in housing, and you do like somebody that was in housing, what you getting at basically?
No, I'm
but-
saying that I think she did wrong.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
And
Thank
then she was out sick, and she did wrong to lose her job, and don't know why. And I was here to tell my opinion, I can't judge it, but I'm going to say it. And if I'm wrong, y'all can tell me I'm wrong. She shouldn't have been the one that lost their job.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's let the next person have a minute.
Lisa Bland.
She just
I'm sorry.
Who's next on the list?
Charlie Boney.
Gentlemen, my name is Charlie Morton from Maple Hill. And I declare, gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, you all really have a problem on your hands, you wasn't realizing it. I have two letters that I'd like to briefly, I'm not going to read just a little bit of the first letter because of the time. This is Bob here. But I'm going to give you a copy of the letter here for you all to look at there. And okay, I'm just.
Okay, y'all got your own copy, okay.
Gentlemen, I tell you, the entire county is outraged, white and black, as well as blacks. And we're asking you gentlemen to please take a stand. I have two letters that I would like to share with you. I'm only going to read part of the first one because of the time issue here. But what the lady was just saying, I haven't even talked to her, but what she was saying is right in line with what these letters are saying. Now, one of the letters here is from a tenant, is from a landlord. This one is from a landlord. This letter right here is from a landlord. And I have another letter from a tenant. This is from a tenant, from a tenant. One is Caucasian and one is African American. And listen, I want you all to read with me what this is saying, and what this lady was saying is right in line. The first letter from the landlord is saying, I am a landlord of Section 8 voucher program. We have housed several of your clients for several years. This letter today is regarding the recent discovery of Ms. Renee Lee termination. As I and other landlords and tenants who have had the great pleasure of working with Ms. Lee, I am confused. This lady is professional and compassionate, and you can tell she loves her job. We always look forward to dealing with her when we need to go to the office. However, I can't say the same thing regarding Ms. Herron. I know that you have had mass amount of complaints regarding this woman. What I do not understand is why all the complaints have landed on deaf ears. Several of us landlords complained to the former county manager regarding her demeanor, and nothing was ever done. Several complaints have been given to the county commissioners, the current county manager, and the human resource lady. Again, our complaints as landlords and even tenants have landed on deaf ears. If it was one individual complaint, I can understand, but when you have several coming from different people, you are supposed to act. She is abusive in a way she talked to people, and very disrespectful. This is coming to that landlord now, who's Caucasian. I have gone in there to talk to her about mistakes, tenant issues, and she has talked down to me like I do not know how to manage my own records. I have been a bookkeeper for 20 years. She also refused. I'm gonna stop right there on that one because I have another page, but I want to get that over to you, and you have a copy of this. But I want to read this one from the tenant, and this tenant is African American. Dear County Commissioner, this letter is in reference to Judy Hearn, the Pembroke County Housing Director. You all have someone in place that has no compassion for this kind of work or people. I have gone into the housing office on a couple of occasions where Ms. Herron has had a nasty attitude. She talks over you. She won't let you express your issues. She gets smart with you and have given me wrong information, and Ms. Lee had to go over it and correct it. Many of us has issues with Ms. Herron. There need to be someone who has love for that kind of work and compassion for people, because Miss Judy Hearn is not that person. I'd like to say one more thing right quickly. I didn't realize this was such an issue. I personally am a tenant, and I had an experience with Miss Judy Hearn. She came to the place to inspect it, and let me tell you, I'm an easygoing fellow. I'm an easygoing guy. I have never in my life, and nobody can say that they've ever heard Charlie Boney use any profanity. I didn't use any that day, but let me tell you, I was so bloated. The woman, we have a problem here. Gentlemen, do we have any questions? Any questions?
None right now, sir. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Martin Hansley, I think. Okay.
My name is Martina Hanson. I was staying in Country Court on 421. Apartment, I got evicted the other day, December the 26th. I had a couple days to get out because the woman evicted me. I've been up on there 7 years and I had no problem. And I want to know, why was I evicted from apartment? 7
we
years.
can't answer your specific question.
I
up
know
here.
you can't.
Okay, I just want to make sure you knew. I couldn't, don't really know your particular case.
I know.
Okay.
And I ain't have no problems until she walks in. When Angie was there, she was fine. And Renee was there. Every time you called out there, they was there. Whether anything went wrong, they helped out. Judy, she is a main person, disrespectful. She didn't care how anybody felt or whatever in housing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Darnell Simmons.
What you got next on the list? I don't see anybody.
Precious Tarver. Malcolm Lear.
Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to speak with you a moment, please. And it's concerning the same subject, Ms. Lee. I am Malcolm Lear, owner and operator of M&R Rentals here in Burgaw in Pender County. Been in business since 1996. Been with Section 8, I believe, since 98 or 99. And not a break in the dates either, all the way through even today. Had good relationships with Miss Lee. I'm only here to tell you how I feel about Miss Lee. I don't know anything about the problems. I didn't call Miss Lee. I didn't call anyone else. I just wanted to tell you how I feel about Miss Lee. My opinion, she has a great personality. Makes everyone feel relaxed when they go into our office. Ask how I can help you, and make sure that she always is ready to help. She's truthful, honest, and explains everything thoroughly, and has backup plans if it don't. She's helped me a lot. She's helped every landlord a lot. I've talked with a landlord yesterday from Pender Lee and one here from Burgaw last night. And both of them feel the same way that I do. I can't tell you their names because I didn't ask them, coulda. But they said they could not meet with us. I just would like to let you know that she has qualities that everybody that has employees would love to have. I would recommend to anyone that needs a lady to work to consider Miss Lee. I will give them a recommendation personally, and I will invite them to call me. My name is on records today, and I really appreciate your consideration and your time, and you folks too. And I would like to say that I've been in business a long time, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I doubt very seriously that Miss Lee hasn't made any mistakes. I don't know but one that hasn't made any mistakes and was perfect. And he died on the cross. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it a lot.
Darlene Williams.
Who you got next on this? I don't see anybody coming.
Daniel Williams. Latasha Armstrong.
Hi, my name is Latasha Armstrong. I really pretty basically much everybody said the same thing. I've been on housing for a while too. I've been in several times. Miss Lee has helped me. I remember one occasion I had received a letter from Judy saying that I owed it some back money. My son was getting SSI. I turned the statement in to Miss Judy, and she was very nasty about the about it, and she told me that I had to pay the money. So Miss Lee did the follow up. Come to find out, I didn't owe any money because the disability people didn't reply to the letter yet. So we had to wait for the letter. So I had called back a couple days later to make sure that everything was fine, and I had asked to speak to Miss Lee. Miss Judy was very nasty on the phone, and she told me anything that you can talk to Miss Lee about, you can talk to me. And I told her, no, I don't have to discuss anything with you. Miss Lee, she was, like everybody said, she's just very compassionate, and she helped anybody that she can. And Judy, she just disrespectful, and I just feel like if anybody should lose their job, it should be Judy, because I just feel like if you don't like your job, give it to somebody that likes to do what they want to do.
Linda Armstrong. Those are all the sign-ups, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. In all fairness, and we'll say a little something with regards to this. Like I said, you may not hear an answer to what you want to, but I hope you feel like you get a chance for your feelings to be expressed, okay? We want to be respectful to the process. There are things that we can and cannot talk about sometimes because of where the process may be. There's an event that's happened, as Miss Lee has been made aware of, a step she can take, a process she can go through, and to the best of my ability, that is happening.
Yes, sir.
But I'm not going to say or do anything to derogatory toward Miss Lee or Miss Herron at this point. But I can tell you that the board takes complaints serious, and just because, and this is for anything, but government moves at an iceberg-like pace sometimes too. So just because you don't see something happen or get a response doesn't mean somebody's not listening to you. I can promise you that. Mr. Attorney, do you need to put any lawyer talk on that any more than what I've said? Since we went through this pretty quick, sometimes you can have 5 people sign up and take an hour. Sometimes you can have 50 and take 15 minutes. We skipped over somebody that was out. I think we got one more time to take that person that was out of the room. I was going to go to the list, and if we were going real long, I was going to say, well, that's it. I'm trying not to be a hard case, Mr. Chairman. So is that person that stepped out, are they back in the room and want to speak, or have they been hurt? Or have what they wanted to say been stated? Okay, if they signed up, they had signed up. Now, that is one rule we had. Okay. Did you sign up, ma'am?
No, I didn't sign up, but I want to say something. My name is Gail Simpkins.
Ma'am, if you're going to come, we'll allow this one, but we're not going to keep going on and on because we try to follow the rule here. But you got to come to the mic, state where you're from, okay?
No problem.
And this isn't just for us and for the record. Believe it or not, we're on the internet now. Folks are watching this, so.
Good evening.
All right.
My name is Gail Simpkins, and I reside here in Pender County. I used to be a manager of Durham Village in Northwood, so I'm familiar with the system, processing people through HUD. My problem is, to have this job, you have to have compassion for people. If you don't have no compassion, you shouldn't be in that position. Miss Lee has the compassion. I don't know the other lady, but I have a problem. Instead of us bringing jobs into Pender County, it seems like we moving people out the way to put somebody else in. It could be favoritism. We don't know. But the problem is we don't have a reason why they terminated her. You have a lot of people who support her. So I feel like the board should really, really get on top of this as soon as possible. Because, like I said, working through HUD, Durham Village, and Northwood, it wasn't easy. But you have to know how to talk to people and how to listen to what the concerns are. So I'm asking you guys to do what's right. I hate to see people looking down on people who's less fortunate than they are. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask the lawyer to earn his check right here that he gets this month, and make sure you understand what we are limited to, and just kind of put some clarity on that before we move to the next item.
Yes, sir.
And that is all the sign-ups. There's not another topic, right?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The county has a personnel policy, and until the process is finalized, we can't comment. At the time at which whatever takes place personnel-wise, if something takes place with regards to an employee, If there's a termination and it's for cause, that information can now be released. I don't know whether there will be or there won't be. There may not be anything to release because there may not be a final termination. If and when there is, if the board would like, we will come back with that information to the board. We will also, if anyone wishes to request that, things can be released. However, let me stress to everyone, because of the nature of the housing department, people who are receiving benefits have privacy rights. And so if something involves someone who is receiving benefits, we cannot release that name, because that person has a right to privacy, which we have to protect, and we will protect that. And before the law changed, we would have had to have gone through, and I think the board still could have addressed it because it clearly is a matter of public concern. But now we can, but if we were to release something, if there was a final action and a personnel action was taken, then if someone's identity was in there, that they have a privacy right because they're not the person, they're not the employee, then they have privacy rights which we will protect. And I just want everybody to know that up front. We're not hiding anything, but they've got a right to have their privacy protected, and we will do that. But if there is a personnel action taken, the basis for that personnel action will be available and can be released to the public.
Thank you.
And that, again, at this point,
Anybody
we may or may not be finished by our next commissioner meeting, but it'll just depend on the timing, the process. It takes some time, but unless this storm's a lot worse than they're calling for it to be, we'll definitely have it by the second meeting in February that it'll be taken care of. Okay. So,
I think Mr. Tate had a comment possibly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I've always observed Renee to be a very professional employee too in her deliberations with the county. Where are we at in that process at this current time?
The process is working, yes. I mean, it's in the personnel process, yes, sir.
Through appeal, because I read, first, one thing you got to do, you can't just say I want to appeal, you have to submit it.
Yes.
And I've read that, I've seen that part, I got it when I got back from my trip, and but I know that there's just steps we got to follow. We have to. We don't have a choice over that. It's got to be followed. We're going to move on to the next item of the agenda, which is resolutions, and that'd be Mr. Ward. I believe this is your topic or your suggestion. Resolution. Oh, I'm sorry. Good gosh, excuse me. I'm sorry. On the consent agenda. Yep. On the consent agenda, we have only the approval of minutes. That's the smallest consent agenda I've seen in a while. I skipped right over it. Does anybody have anything in the minutes they want to pull out before we move along with the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll take a motion on the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Have a second. Motion is second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries. Now back on track. Mr. Ward, thank you. Resolutions.
Are we on number 4? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair. And again, this is pertaining to a resolution that was passed by the Pender County Board of Education. And I think this was back in December. When I had interest, what got my attention when I was reading the Pender Post, and it was the article dealing with the Pender County Board of Education passing a resolution providing a pay for teacher compensation. And with this, Mr. Chair and the rest of the board, I do feel that we do support our school in all matter, and especially it comes down with the teachers making sure they're getting paid for what they are doing. And let me share this to you if I can. I was happened to be to a workshop, and Mr. Chair, I think he was there, Mr. Watson and Mr. County Manager. And this was WBD put on their seminar and reference growth, economic growth around an area. And well, I shouldn't be surprised, I would say, but what was amazing that when they got to Pender County, they were showing that how strong our schools are in the county. And me personally have experienced people that moved in the area based on our schools. And with that, that is a good source that we have, especially in Pender County. And with all of that, it said that I think it's nothing but for us to be so supportive in our school, showing that they're doing a great job because we see the evidence that's out there. We're not saying it from our own board, but from other experts that's out there in the field as well, from business and everything else that look at Pender County. And I will make this short, and with that, do ask that the commissioner be in support of our school and making this possible for our teacher, Mr. Chair.
I have one comment, but any other commissioner want to comment on this prior to the vote?
I do.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mr. Brown. I'm not used to looking that way. I'm used to looking left over this way. I've been over that end so long. Yes, sir.
You ready for me
Yes,
now?
sir.
Okay. This is one of those issues, if you vote against it, you're a bad guy because you're not supporting the schools. And that's not at all what I'm about to talk about. I will be the first one to jump up and support our teachers and say they need an adequate wage. What I do have some issues with, I took the time to read the resolution that the school board set forth. I have some issues with what they put on paper. I'm not saying I wouldn't agree to a resolution to support teachers, but I will not agree to this particular resolution, not in the wording, because I have contacted our state legislature. I've contacted our Chris Millis as well as Senator Rabin to get some information from them, which is where the that's the point to where these actions will be taken for the schools. I'm just going to start reading the very beginning of this resolution. Whereas the teachers of Pender County Schools positively impact this community, this great state, and the nation for years to come. I totally agree with that. I am thankful for the condition of our schools, for the as you mentioned, Mr. Ward. You take a look at it on a state level, we've got schools to admire, respect, and be proud of because you compare them to other areas, we're superior in a lot of ways. And it takes teachers to help make that kind of dedication to make these things work. But let me go to the second whereas. Whereas amid changes in curricula and testing, and despite reductions in per pupil spending, that bothered me a little bit because I remember those conversations with the state legislature where they said they did not cut per pupil spending. Actually, their resolution says that per pupil spending is reduced, but our county has actually got an increase in per pupil spending according to the statistics that I saw today and have talked to these guys about. So to me, I don't agree with that particular aspect unless they can show me something different. And if they show me something different, then we got a difference of opinion between the state legislature and our local school board. The next thing, whereas apart from a 1.2% increase in 2012-13, teacher salaries in the state of North Carolina have been stagnant since 2008-2009. Sounds like our own employees. I mean, our own employees are basically in that same situation. And it being a commissioner, I'm going to advocate for the employees, just like the school board should be advocating, I guess, for their teachers. The other thing is, whereas a 6-year teacher in 2013-14 will earn $4,580 less than a 6th-year teacher earned in 2008-2009. Well, according to that, that's a decrease in pay. But yet up here, it also says the state of North Carolina, their salaries have been stagnant since 2008-2009. Now, it's either stagnant or there's a reduction. That's kind of a contradiction within itself in the same document. And it also said North Carolina's average salary trails our region's average by $5,000 and $10,000 less than the national average. Well, folks, you can put on paper anything you want to. I do support the teachers getting a decent wage. But when you compare us on a national average to other teachers, there are regions that's a lot more expensive to live in than in Pender County, North Carolina. So their salary may buy them more money in this area than what someone in New York being paid buys them in that area. So when you're going to show me stats like this, I want to compare apples to apples. And I'm not sure that's what's going on here. Then on the back, they talk about increases for the first 5 years and establish increases for teachers as they gain experience and credentials, and all that's fine. But I'm also a merit person. I believe that people should get increases based on merit also. That's not even listed in here. Another thing, when we support this, guys, gear up and saddle up, because I tell you what's coming next. When you support giving the teachers a raise, we have what's called supplements in this county for teachers. If the legislature does not grant any kind of increase, they're going to look at, the school board's going to look at us and go, hey, look, you supported it, we need an increase in the supplements. And guess what? Maybe we do need to consider increasing supplements, I don't know. But that's what's coming next, because the state legislature is working on this. I don't know if they've got an increase in mind. This is still ongoing with the state legislature. I will support an assessment of the teachers' pay and taking a look to see if they need an increase. And if they do need an increase, that is something we need to consider. But I don't like the language in this resolution. And there are things in here that I don't agree with. So I'm at an impasse here. If I agree to this resolution, I'm doing it just because I want to look good to the teachers. And it's an election year and I want to get some brownie points. That's not what I'm going to do here. I will agree to a resolution that has different language in it than this. So, that's kind of my position on this. It's nothing against any one individual, but I want a different resolution than this resolution to agree to something of that nature.
I had a comment, but I think it just took a back seat to what you said. But yeah, I mean, we're all going to come in here and say we support. Of
course we are.
I mean, I agree with that. I'd like to hear from the other gentlemen if they'd like to weigh on this. Yeah, because I can see the headline now. No offense.
Oh yeah, that's a suicide mission.
Present company excluded, Stephanie. Present company excluded, but it's juicy. I know it is. Mr. Tate. Or does somebody want to offer up an alternate, or do we want to move forward this and we can put our own caveat on it, or does somebody want to consider us crafting our own resolution in support of it, or does Mr. Ward want to comment on any of this, yes or no, or that you'd like to do a different resolution, or to just stay with the same? Any comment, gentlemen, is welcome on this.
Well, I've got one other.
Let your feelings be known.
I want to add one other thing that I didn't add there. You know, I've talked to a lot of teachers and had a lot of them talk to me about issues they have in the county. I'm not a school board member, and I'm disappointed I can't help them with some of their issues, because to me, they should have a school board more engaged with helping them with these issues than actually having to come to a county commissioner. I'm not two different elected officials. I'm only one. I work for the citizens of Pender County. That's what you have a school board for. Those folks are elected to take care of these kind of issues. But I tell you, the biggest complaint from the teachers about salaries that they've shared with me is the disparity between what they pay folks in central office and at the administrative level, and in comparison to what they pay a teacher who's out there educating our children. Now, I'm a firm believer in cleaning up your own backyard before you go asking somebody else to help you clean things up a little bit. I think our own school board should be taking a look at salaries they're paying right here to some of their own people to see if maybe they're overpaying some folks and underpaying others. You know, we give them a bulk of money to take care of their business. I don't want to have to go in there and start dissecting things, and that's not my role here. And so I do believe that there are ways we could look at this, because folks, regardless how you look at this, if you increase funding, you got to provide a revenue stream from somewhere. Nobody's gonna come in here and spread pixie dust all over everything. All of a sudden, a bunch of dollars are gonna float up to the top where these teachers are gonna get an increase. Somebody's actually got to do their homework and tell me where this increase is coming from, because I don't want it to transfer down to a local level and lose funding for something that we're gonna have to have mandated to us to provide for, because they're shifting that responsibility or that funding over to the teacher column. I wanna know where that funding's coming from.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to
yes,
say something.
Yes, sir, please do.
This is one of those politically correct issues, and believe me, I support teachers too. I'm retired from DOT engineering department, and state employees didn't have a raise either, I mean, other state employees. You know, I agree a lot with what Mr. Brown said about this statement here, and whichever way, you know, you vote against it, look at the bad guy, and you don't really care about the schools. I believe that we really got to relook at some of these statements in here, because like comparison with other states and how it's paid. And I do not believe, I was reading the other day where North Carolina ranks 46 in the nation on teachers' pay. That is the way you look at that thing. It's not really the facts, like the cost of living, where you live, how much it costs to live. And also I got an email today from the governor that the teachers are going to get a raise this year, but he's pushing for that, and I believe they should get a raise. But a lot of these statements in here I can't agree with either.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can look at it one of two ways then, or approach this, well, three ways. We can have a motion to approve, and it carry, or we can have a motion to approve and it not carry, or we can look at tabling this, coming back, and let's get these questions answered and table it to the next meeting.
Can I make just a suggestion here?
Yes, sir.
What I'm actually asking for here is, if you want to ask the state legislature to look at teacher salaries and decide whether they need a possible increase, I'm okay with doing that. But I'm not okay with this resolution because of, in my opinion, there's some contradictions here based on information I've gotten from my state legislatures.
Well, I'm gonna ask the gentleman that submitted it, does he want to possibly look at a modified resolution, or ask this one to come up, vote as is, or table it till we get some clarification? I'm looking to you for some guidance on this one.
I think, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just looking at this, it just never surprised me. But we're just going to go forth and we're going to look at it in that direction. But hopefully that we'll see that if the things bother, that we do take that in consideration. So we can, I want to say being supportive of our school, but look at things that make it better, look at a better resource for them, I would say.
All right, well, do you want to maybe come up with do a resolution, but maybe change some of the wording in it?
This is, I would look at it this, Mr. Chair. Looking at the school board, they to make the decision, and one thing Mr. Brown said, and totally agreed, is that I'm as a sitting county commissioner. My expertise is not in education, that's why the board is there for. And they recommend and suggest things that they can know that will be benefit and that they see that can help. With that, I take that in all consideration, because it's no different from somebody from the health department. And, you know, even though we sit as the Board of Health, Ms. Murphy, we take their expertise, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and I'm only can be supportive of what they tell me until I see something different. So with that, I would say that I would still be supportive of my school board in all matters. If anybody feels that there's some wording should be changed, that could be done on some other resolution or however you want to fit it. But
The only thing I'm asking for here is that if you're going to present a resolution to support the teachers and increase in pay, let's present a resolution that actually deals with that. When our school board starts putting information in here that can be questionable, Maybe they look at it that way, but maybe the legislators don't look at it like that. I'm just asking, could we change or modify the resolution to support the teachers and ask that they be looked at as far as a pay raise is concerned, but not necessarily the same resolution? Because I do have some distinct issues with this resolution. That's all I'm asking for here. I support the schools. I want to support the schools. And I do support our school board. I've never, we listen to them once a year, give us, I don't get into their business. I figure they know what they're talking about. But folks, when I put my John Hancock on something, I'm going to be comfortable that the information I'm agreeing to, I'm in total agreement with. But that's all I'm asking for.
Well, could I get a nod that we table this till we modify the resolution? Or does somebody want to make a motion to approve? I'd like to see us come to something that maybe, this just, is my opinion. I'd like to see us maybe come back with something that maybe a little shorter. I don't think a resolution needs to be quite this long and this wordy to say, hey.
It just pulls some of this stuff out of it.
But I'm going to defend the man. I'm going to defend the man that submitted it. Somebody asked him to submit it. And he thought it was a good idea. I think it's a good idea.
I think supporting the schools is a good idea.
We're going to have to address
from an expert to Mr. Tate, even though he have
Y'all trying to get me in this school.
Yes, sir.
system.
Yes, we are.
What do you expect me to say? I support the teachers. I support this resolution. Are you ready for a motion on it? I mean,
have a short and sweet there.
I'm trying to keep my remarks short and sweet nowadays. I've been up high.
Well, gosh, Mr. Tate, you called us out right there. And trust me, we joke around with each other time to time. I'd rather see us come back with a resolution that I knew we could all agree on, because I think that sends a better message. I can tell you right now, this one ain't gonna carry unanimously. It may not carry, and then it comes back and looks like, well, we know what it looks like. So
I think I will agree with that, because it's not no one up here trying to make anyone to look bad. I do want to say that we're, and Mr. Brown's correct, there's a lot of things, issues that's out there. But it seems like it always falls back on us when the time when money doesn't come. There's always county commissions. But and I know, and it seems like every article I see, that's not only North Carolina, but it's just everything. I mean, you see where people leaving the school system, going to take up another job. It's already hectic out there. You got kids that's sitting there like a babysitting club or something. Most students going there for a social event. And what really, like I said, what took interest in that workshop we went to in Wilmington, how our school and what they're doing. Maybe we can look at the supplement, not so much as the pay. Maybe the supplement, we can take care of those in our house, which is good. Take care of those in our house. Looking at the county employees too, since that's on the move, I'd love to look at this. And that's something, I may not be here. That's something hopefully that the board will look in the near future. But hopefully we'll do something, because sometimes you don't need to hear negative all the time. And people in the school, teachers, they work every day, Monday through Friday. At least they can hear something that's positive. No, I don't want to sit here and we that's in the election year, so I don't want to sit there and sound like trying to earn brownie points. Some people gonna hate you regardless if you do or don't, so it doesn't matter. But hopefully we can just look at it, and if the need to be some adjustment.
Well, I thank you for that. I thank you for that. I think we can come back with something.
I think we could do. There's something that can look like a little light in the tunnel. That's all.
I haven't heard that. Is there any objections that we table this till we come up with a resolution that we know that we all get behind and stand together? Because when we put our minds to something, we've done some interesting things. We all stand together, and so I thank you for doing that. If no other objections, we're going to table this and come back with Board of Commissioners resolution with a little bit of clarity in it and move on. Hopefully we have it by the next meeting. Is that acceptable to everybody?
You know, the simplest saying we support the teachers, but, you know, some of this other stuff.
Some of this other stuff, gentlemen, has just got politics in it. And I want to support our state legislature, and I want to support our teachers, and there's a way we can do both.
I forwarded resolutions that somebody else had me send on their behalf, and, you know, that's part of, we're conduit sometimes. Let's go back to, get back on track here. So we're gonna come back with a resolution our next meeting.
Mr. Manager, will you want to work together so we can bring some wording up and?
What I'll do is I'll take a first cut based on what Commissioner Brown was mentioning a while ago, some of the statistical data. I'll take a first cut and send it out to everybody, and
We're going
we
to
can
modify,
let
not so
you
much
see
take
what
out,
you
we can
think
modify
about
the
it.
language of it. That's
Right.
mine. Okay.
Everybody weigh in on anything you want to weigh in on, and we can get there. We've sent more complicated resolutions than this one before, that's for sure.
Thank you.
On the next item, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Working together on this. Number 5, Mr. Smith, Mr. Watson, this is resolution authorizing issuance of purchase order to Motorola Solutions for the purchase and installation of updated software for 94 Viper radios, $16,200. Sheriff Smith.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. As you know, we're on the, I say we, the law enforcement, all the EMS, the fire departments in the county, are on the Viper system, the state 800 megahertz public safety radio system. They are going to be upgrading that. We've been on it since 2008. We were, I think, the second county in the state to actually switch all of our emergency services over to the network. It was a great deal for us. It was a network that they were putting in place anyway, so the infrastructure was there. It was just a matter of us getting the radios to, and then be put on the system. They are going to what they're calling P25 technology from P16 technology, and they're going to be making that happen in March of this year, something they've been talking about for several years. We knew it was coming at some point. We didn't know when. I mean, probably 3 or 4 years they've been telling us it's coming. Well, now it's here, and we didn't have as much time as we thought we were going to need. As we thought we were going to have. It's going to allow the system's basically out of room now. It's hard for them to add any radios at all anywhere in the state. So this will allow them to be able to expand the system greatly. The towers will be able to handle more traffic when they're done with it. And the P25 is a nationally recognized standard. So I know the state sort of gets grant money from the feds to keep that continuing. They're going to have to switch. And when they switch, we're going to have to switch or we're not going to be able to talk on it. What I'm asking for today are part of it, including the sheriff's office, animal control, the jail, the 911 center is $16,200 is going to pay for probably 2/3 of the radios have to be upgraded. 1/3 of them are okay. So those 94 radios we're going to have to upgrade. That's what it's going to cost us. Of course, it was not budgeted. We've moved some money around, probably going to hold off on buying some computers here and some radios here, and we're just going to take it out of the existing budget this year and just sort of make it work. Got to do it to stay on the network now.
Yes, sir. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, just let me say, just add to it, all the fire departments, EMS, we all had to do it. I think probably us and Pender Fire EMS had the biggest chunk of it because we got the biggest chunk of radios. So they all are working their way through this too.
I know your fella, with the fire commission back in December, I guess it was. Yeah, he's having to go around station to station, if I'm not mistaken.
Labor
it's taken
intensive.
a long time.
We got in so early, we've got some of the radios that were bought before the new radios, and new radios are fine. So we're actually having to go in and put new firmware in the radios. It is a logistical feat to do what we're doing. We've had to put our hands on them because another thing happens in February called rebanding. Sprint was given by the federal government, given the whole radio spectrum. And they got to divvy it up how they saw fit. They're moving public safety from one set of frequencies to another. Well, we had to put our hands on radios for that anyway. So between that change, which is in February 12, which is not going to be as huge as this, and then the P25 migration in March, this has been probably the past 2 months and going into the next 2 months, it's been crazy to try to get this going. It's been a great system. It is a great system. It brought our communications up from where we were tremendously. and we just need to be able to stay on it.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, he answered the question I had was where the money's coming from. But, yeah, I'm really a big supporter of this Viper system. I know it really works good, and it's really a good for the county, so I'm a big supporter of that.
Thank you.
I know the man to my right knows a little something about it. Anything you want to say, Mr. Ward?
I need a radio to call help, that's all I can tell you. So I need one that works.
I know we were talking about this long before I became, not long before, but it's been on the table since you were elected and since I was elected, the topic of Viper, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken.
Probably. The state's worked on, we started talking about, I think, we knew it was coming, but then in '06, we began to see how we were going to be on it. And in '08, I think there was one county up around the Virginia border, but I think we were the first county that we put our entire county network, public service safety network on it. And it's been a tremendous system, and we just have to do this to be able to continue to use it.
Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Motion and a second. I heard Mr. Tate first on that. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is appointments. Resolution authorize approval of appointment to the Pender County Planning Board. Ms. Pridgen.
Ms. Sonia Edens has served a 3-year term on the planning board representing the business position, and her term will expire on January 31st. She wishes to be reappointed, and she is eligible to be reappointed, and it was advertised.
And I remember, I believe I made the motion to appoint her at the time.
Yep, you
So I
did.
know her, she's done a good job, but if you hadn't been in here before, the chair neither makes or seconds.
Is she here
Motions.
today? Be recognized?
I have not seen Ms. Edens in here.
We probably don't do that often enough, but it's nice if we can try to recognize these folks. If they come in, at least try to recognize them for helping us out. But are you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion to reappoint her.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. Next, we have items from county attorney, then county manager, and then county commissioners. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to let the board know that an appeal has been filed by an adjacent property owner for the special use permit that was given to Alistar, which is the company that's going to operate the training facility. And we're in the process of getting the record on appeal prepared and submitted to the court, and I'll keep you apprised as that moves along.
Is that a closed session?
No, sir.
You saying they appealing or?
They have appealed, yes, sir. They have filed what is called a petition for writ of certiorari, and they're asking that the court rule that the special use permit should not have been granted. So,
The special forces guy that was here. His
He
training-
don't want it?
No,
he
the
does.
neighbors don't want it.
A neighbor, an adjacent property owner, I'm sorry if I didn't make
Okay,
that clear.
I'm sorry, I thought they was, I'm like, why?
No,
would they-
they're, in fact, they will be, they're
Gotcha.
also a party to the proceeding, and I
Okay.
expect their attorney will be at the
Gotcha.
hearing. Normally, that's the way it works, but normally it's the person that applied and got denied that appealed.
Okay.
That's what we've dealt with.
Over at Belvedere on the.
Right,
on
yeah,
the border.
during my tenure on the board, that's mostly where the appeals have come from, as opposed to the.
Is this that shooting range?
Well, it's, yes, it's
Training
no longer a
facility.
shooting
Training
range.
facility. It
Yes.
started off being a shooting range.
Right.
And went to a training facility,
Yeah.
indoor training facility.
Right.
Okay.
And that's part of the argument in the lawsuit. I mean, I'll give you as much detail as you want, but the part of the argument is, and it was made at the hearing, that it's the same request.
No.
And the board ruled that it wasn't, and I don't think any member of the board, even the members that voted against the permit, thought it was the same request. I mean, it was, and I have gone back and looked, and everybody that spoke about the outdoor shooting at the first hearing that was held in the spring. I mean, that
Well,
was,
that's what I was getting around to. In the beginning, they were asking for an outdoor shooting range.
Right.
Yeah,
This was the building.
Yeah, and it was
Okay.
denied.
right.
Yeah.
And they did not appeal from that, but an adjacent property owner has appealed from the grant for the reduced facility that they are pursuing.
All right.
And I'll just keep you posted as that moves along.
Any other
We do have several items for closed session.
I don't read it anymore. What items numbers?
It will be items 3, 4, and 6.
that all?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manners?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We are in earnest in the budget process. Munis module opened up on the 13th, which was Monday, last Monday, and we are starting to input in Munis. We have a new system this year. The system's been revamped a little bit. It's a little new to us, and we're still trying to get it set so we can put those nice columns that go back about 4 years for y'all to look at when we start through the budget down here at the table on the board, so you can see the bleeps in each department, why they went up, why they went down, and it just gives you a good way to budget and look and understand what's going on in Pender County, rather than just look at 3 numbers in a book. So that's what we're going to try to do for you this year. Department head's working real hard to get that in. What we usually do when departments put that budget in is once they're done, then we roll it over into my column, and then as we meet throughout the budget, I can make those changes and roll them over into your column. So the IT department, Earl and Eric, is just intricate in this process. I just want to say they're not here tonight, but I want to say hats off to them because they save us a lot of work going through this zero-based budget we're trying to do here as finance officer, assistant manager, and I are trying to do this. But this is starting to get in. I think our next big date here is the requests from outside agencies, and all our fire departments are due on February the 28th, so we'll have those back in. We'll be sending letters out, giving them a month's time to or over a month's time to respond to those. And so they'll be very much the same as it was last year. You all will have a bird's eye view on the budget. The next thing I wanted to go over briefly was we are starting to put together the smoking plan. I know Carolyn's here and Ms. Steele, they were in our meeting this last week, but as you can see these, and I'm going to pass these around so you can just pass through, but Josh Norwood over in our GIS department is doing an excellent job with these. What he is tasked with is getting every county department and putting a barrier around it that's 50 feet. And the reason we'll do that is because if you look out back on this side, the 50-foot barrier from the Board of Elections building and the administration building will overlap. So that's good to know. As these areas overlap, then we've got to move back to this point to set up some of those designated smoking areas if we go with the 50-foot. So that's going to help us on the ground. You'll be getting a book with all county buildings in it with those 50-foot barriers around it for your future knowledge of county buildings, how they're situated, and where the smoking areas are. And that's what we want to make for you, and that's what we're taking our time with it. And as soon as we get those areas put up and working with the health department, health director, we'll get that to you for approval, for our potential approval.
Could I make a request? In the meantime, would you pull the cigarette butt cans away from the doors? I don't know about the rest of these guys, but I get a lot of complaints about the butt cans being at the door where people are coming in and out of. Could we at least temporarily get them moved somewhere away from the doors so that the employees and the citizens that come into the building won't have to walk through the smoke? Okay.
One time, I'm not going to do my items, but I'd like to go back and mention the budget. Obviously, we're going to have some various meetings. We're going to meet early, some things this year. But, you mentioned you're going to get together how you're inputting, and I think that's good to be able to see the historical data. I know Mr. Tate appreciates that too. Everybody does. However, at the end of the day, we're going to see managers' recommendation, right?
That's right.
Okay, and then whether we agree or don't agree still, we're still going to see manager's recommendation on here.
That's right. And that's what you saw last year. You saw my recommendation versus department heads. A lot of times we didn't agree and we butted heads over a few dollars, but that's what it's all about. And you see those exchanges during the budget process, and you're involved in those exchanges, and then we set what you want, and ultimately you win the column based on what you want at the end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's 5 of us sitting up here got to make decisions, but like Mr. Ward said, put some people in these positions to make recommendations on their daily interaction with all of them. But yeah, we don't walk around with blinders on. There's some things that are obvious, but there's some that aren't. So that's all. I was just going back to that topic. Is that it, Mr. Mann?
That's it.
Start with you, Mr. Tate.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you and the members of the board who actually came out. I think last week was a busy week. Went over to Surf City Kiwanis Club on Tuesday morning and graced them as their breakfast speaker, and I really enjoyed meeting with those folks, and I thank Butch and Dr. Duvall for getting me that information. And then back on Thursday night for the All Towns meeting of our 4 beach towns, which include those to our neighboring towns as well. back in Surf City that evening, Thursday evening, as their speaker. And I want to thank Dr. Duvall, Commissioner Brown, as well as Mr. Watson, who also attended that meeting. I was really glad to see their support and taking the time to come. I know we all have a busy schedule, excuse me. And when you take the time to come, I think that means a lot, and I really appreciate that. On this coming Monday, on this coming Saturday, Mr. Chairman, we have received a request for a certificate of honor. I think Glenda's working on for Edna Walker. Edna works with our hospital. She's worked there 46 years, and I think they have, she lives some part of my district, I'm told, and over in the Curry Atkinson, somewhere in that area, attending that on Saturday morning. And I think Ruth Glazier as well from the hospital, so looking forward to a great day. 46 years is a long time to provide care to people here in Pender County. So I hope that we can respectfully sign that certificate honoring Ms. Walker on Saturday.
If it's not
I
done,
submit that report to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, thank you. If not done, we'll make sure it gets signed. Mr. Cole?
Okay, last Friday I attended the RPO meeting in Wilmington, Rural Transportation Advisory Committee, and I put a motion forward to support Pender County and the rail connector, between Castleton and Wallace, and they all supported that. So that's on record that they're supporting the rail connector. I think it's really important for Pender County.
Thank you for being an advocate for us there, Mr. Cole. Mr. Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would say this would be a public announcement. It was something was brought up. Mr. Brown mentioned something. I said, you know what? I will make this a public announcement. He was speaking of election, and I would say that I will be seeking another term as commissioner, and hopefully be filing next month and continue on this work and duty for the people of Pender County. Thank you. Thank you.
Those y'all don't know, we'll be facing each other in the primary, and who knows else who's going to come out. We don't know. But as always, we treat each other with respect up here and throughout the things, and I don't doubt that for a minute. So anyway, Mr. Brown?
That railroad's going to go right by my house.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. I appreciate that. No, actually,
It was there when you bought it before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, not quite.
No, they had taken the tracks up. Actually, I've been in several meetings. Mr. Tate and I went to one in Kenansville a few years ago where they were folks from Wayne County, Duplin County, Pender County were all there, and our COG representation was there, Council of Government. And I think it'd be nostalgic to bring the train back, and I'm sure it would have some financial benefits and some economic benefits to it, so it can come on by my house. If it'll help Pender County out, let it come on by the house. I don't care.
State forces.
There you go.
They're going to be the midnight special commission.
Yeah.
Go through there with the,
So
the whistle blowing the whole way.
If I get reelected, Mr. Ward, and that train is what I think it's going to be, then I'll probably have I might get a little sleepy in this meeting from time to time. Mr. Tate, I want to tell you I appreciated that meeting on Thursday night that you mentioned tonight. That was a great group of people, and I appreciated the fact that I was able to make it and be there, and I enjoyed the meal and the entertainment, and you did an excellent job on the speech. I wanted to tell you that. You did a great job on the speech, touched on some very important things, and appreciate the staff for being there too. It means a lot to have your staff there at these things. One thing I want to talk about or just mention to the manager, I got a phone call today from a guy, Stanley, I think was his last name. I'm trying to remember. Stanley, yeah, Mr. Stanley, on Herrings Chapel Road. He wanted to be put on the list, I think is what it all comes down to. He's looking for cable and access, broadband, that type of thing. He said it's on both ends of the road, but it's not for the subdivisions that are, or the houses that are in towards the middle of the road. So if you could add him to the list of folks, because I know you've sent out emails requesting people to stand up and ask for, to get involved in these things, you know, to request these people to bring the service into their areas. So I'm going to add his name to the list if you don't mind.
And do you mind if I just, since you jogged my memory, do you mind if I interrupt you and update that just a minute for you and the
Sure.
board members? Since you brought that up, I do want to update you. We do have over 550 signatures, and those have been vetted by North Carolina Department of Commerce, because when they sign up, we send them straight to Commerce and they vet them. So, you know, because let's say Trey and I lived in the same household, that house counts one time. And so these 550 are 550 separate households. And as we begin to look at this is very important, because we've moved now from the sign-up phase now with Jason Simple with Commerce to the grant procurement stage for a business plan. So we're right now, when they release that money, hopefully in February, March, or April, we're in line to start getting some grant money in for a full-blown business plan, which when that's done, that will become part of the RFP to go out to the ISPs, internet service providers, for them to bid on building out the network, and giving us a price and all that. So we're moving along.
Yeah, just wanted to tell the public too, if you don't mind, along that line, what all this boils down to, folks. I know some people may not understand. I didn't understand half of what he was saying, but what it comes down to is we're trying to get internet service and bring cable to areas of the county that presently do not have it. So we're working. We can't tell them they've got to do it, but they're working with us to try and bring these things to Pender County so everyone can have a computer in their home, have cable television, things of that nature. So that's what the manager is working on, just trying to bring those things to Pender County. We are working for you folks on some of this stuff. It's slow. You got to have so many people to get involved in this, paying customers, and you know they've got to look at this from a business standpoint too. But I appreciate you spearheading that effort to help bring this to our county.
Let's just make sure that grant money that comes down in February, March, April, that's grant money as part of the study and the planning phase, not turning dirt.
That's right.
I just want to make
That's
sure
right.
that we're not going to be turning dirt by May.
That's
on
right.
this,
That's
but
exactly
you
right.
got to go through the phases. I just want to make sure.
Can I clear up one thing also, just for the sake of the folks in the room? What we were talking about earlier about the smoke, in case you were wondering, we're trying to come up with a smoking policy or smoking areas for the folks that smoke here at the county complex, and so that citizens and employees that do smoke have a place to go and smoke. Because whether I smoke or not, I still respect the right of the individual to make that choice for themselves. We just need to get it away from the doors of the building and put it out away from the building a little bit. So I know it gets confusing when you hear us talking up here. You may not know what we're talking about, but just to give a little clarity on what some of that was about. Thank you.
And we're not going to be late for the 7 o'clock portion. We got some stuff we got to cover, the closed sessions, and let's not get too comfy with our time frame. We'll jinx
All right,
ourselves.
you ready for that?
I know Mr. Tate has got something that he's going to add, and then I'm just going to add one thing quick. I'm not going to keep us.
Well, I didn't want Sharon to leave out because I want her to spread the word throughout the district. It's just that I've been reminded that I have promised some folks back in my district that I was going to remind the board of something. Mr. Brown touched on a very important point about the broadband internet access. Throughout District 5, we have a major problem with very weak signals and so forth, and see what we can also do about that. Mr. Mack, I called you a couple weeks ago in regards to the being allowed to dispose electronic items at the site there in Willard. I would hope that we're still working on that. Not now, you don't have to address it now. Maybe just give me an update where we're at with that during the break, if you can, please. I know you're working on it and trying.
That company has ceased to exist, sir.
I know, but you're very proactive and innovative, so I'm sure you got some type of solution to help the people from Willard that's listening today and throughout the district. I share with them how proactive, and I appreciate you. Thank you. We can work on it. And DOT traffic concerns. Stephanie, please listen. Please, because I want everybody in our district to know this. If you can help us out do a study, I would appreciate it. Respectfully asking, my great friend, she just does a phenomenal job. We have a traffic concern at District 5 at the Union Rescue Building. There's been a number of accidents there, and people are just very, very concerned about traffic flow there. They've asked that we meet with the NC Highway Patrol as well as DOT. Mr. Manager, can you arrange another meeting with DOT? My fire chief and others would like to attend that meeting. We'd like to have actually a traffic meeting out in the district one night. And have everyone from Penderley and Willard to come out and express their concerns with Karen and her staff. That's so important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to bring those three attentions back up tonight.
No worries, no worries. And if you gotta stay, you gotta stay long. I mean, I just was kind of being funny. We jinxed ourselves lately on that. One thing real quick, Mr. Tate and I, we sat on a hospital board meeting the other day, and you talk about what a great speech he gave. I kind of took a rib at Jimmy. Jimmy said something, and I looked at him. I said, "That's the shortest speech I ever heard you give." But we had a good meeting. It's good to have my friend sitting beside me at that meeting. Another item is, at some point in time with the budget coming up, hadn't happened in a while, and it's not that I hesitate to do it, but I'm going to ask again that we have a commissioner meeting on the east side again and hope that, the turnout's pretty good. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, and you're taking staff and you move them over there. I want to ask y'all to consider that. I know Mr. Ward will be in agreement, and probably all of you will. Yeah. Don't want to ask you to pull it off next month, but at some point in time in the very near future, I'd ask that we try to do that. But this is the county seat. This is where majority of our meetings are and where they will be. But move around from time to time. One time we went to every district, but we did that for a while, and just the expense and for everybody to go out and you'd have 2 or 3 people show up. It was just hard to do.
If you can get Mr. Mack to hurry up and finish the Old Topsail High School, we'll have a place to have those meetings.
That's a good point, but I won't belabor that anymore. I just asked that y'all would kind of give a nod to explore having one over there. We hadn't done it in a while.
It's been like a couple of years?
It's been a while since we've had a commission meeting. And at that particular time, I think it would be a good time to have a DOT update on the safety improvements on 17 and the bypass. Everybody's seeing all the surveyor trucks. They know, at least they know something's happening. They're not turning dirt, but they know something's happening. But I know we're all fielding a lot of calls on that. And the only other thing is, Sheriff, we're not going to drag it out right now, but he and I have been talking, and I know I asked him to come up here now. We voted for this referendum, and it all stemmed from somebody being able to serve beer in this nice little place in Topsail Beach. And it seems so simple that they want to do that in Topsail Beach. Let the local government handle it in Topsail Beach. And I think I said it, and I think we nodded, even though I voted to put it on the referendum, that I said, I think we could be creating some problems for the sheriff. I let myself be rushed to a decision. Not saying I'm changing my mind, but it was gray. Was it not a lot of gray in how this legislation ever got to pass on being able to, what we now got this thing on the referendum.
Yes, sir.
And the way you have to word it, you can't word it where somebody really has to understand what they're voting on. So can you give us a quick synopsis of what you've done on your due diligence side?
Well, let me say, alcohol in North Carolina is complicated. You got spirituous liquor, fortified wine, malt beverages. They all have different things. And then you've got on-premise and off-premise, and they all have different rules. I think when it first came up, there were some concerns right off the bat, but we never could. It was hard to put our hand around exactly what it was going to be. And the reason that I had talked to you just last week is I got the news I got last Monday, the interpretation or whatever you will, that actually came from council at the ABC Commission was, I think, be careful. It appears that what we thought could be possible definitely would be a possibility that should the referendum pass the way it's worded, it would open up practically any business or I mean, they have to, I guess, meet certain criteria to be able to get an on-premise malt beverage license. I know a lot of us has sort of been looking into it. Even Representative Millis, I spoke to him a few times about it, and his folks had gotten information, I think, that might have pertained to spirituous liquor and not malt beverages. And because it is alcohol laws, it's hard to look at, and it's hard. That's why I don't think this. I think this would have come up a little sooner. It would have been more glaring a little sooner. But as of last Monday, the information that I saw that I did pass on to Trey, maybe his opinion on it too, from council with ABC Commission is that it would definitely lead to what we call, and it's been called that for decades, and private clubs or juke joints, whatever you want to call them. It would make it extremely easy, it appears to me, for them to get on-premise malt beverage licenses. I can say this, in the late 80s, I was a deputy sheriff. I pulled up to the scene of a juke joint where somebody had been murdered. These places typically were weekend. You knew on the weekend you were going to get called to one of them. And there were many. There are many across the county. Always have weapons calls, always have fight calls, people getting hurt. And in some cases, and matter of fact, ask Jamie Ezel, the captain in investigations, he remembered in his head 3 murders that we had in these places. I don't think that'd be good, and that's why I want to come and ask you to maybe reconsider. There may be ways to do things another way for Topsail to get what they want. I think we spoke with Dennis. We really probably have to the second board meeting in February. If you were to rescind it or take it off the May ballot, as it stands now, it will be on the ballot in May. And I ask you at least, that gives you a month as county commission with, maybe your council or whatever, but maybe to look at it yourself and see if you see if you come to sort of the agreement with me that potentially for the little problem that this is going to take care of, it could create a much bigger problem for everybody in the county.
I don't think there's anybody in this room that was saying that how this came about and the circumstances which it came about was against it. It was a lady could serve wine basically on local.
I understand that.
She could serve wine at a bookstore but couldn't serve beer. That's how all this started, and then you start opening up. I think
we invited folks to come from ABC and talk to us. We asked questions. We were trying to get answers to questions. We were under the impression that even though that there was a concern expressed about juke joints, but it was put to us that there would still be criteria and requirements these folks would have to go through, and now it sounds like that may not exactly be the case.
Well, I just have an uncomfortable feeling that there's not another way this could have been done at strictly a local city, have a little more control. And
I think it can be.
Then we got a problem because they ought to have a little more local control.
Well, we asked for that, but we asked could that happen, but I thought there was some kind of there was some kind of something that prohibited the town because of what, population or something?
Yes, they did not have the 500 residents that were.
We know in the summertime it's a lot more than that.
Right.
I'm not asking for us to answer this right now. I'd like to have it up for discussion so we can get more information and more advice. I'm not saying I want to pull it, but I'm just saying, daggone it, I got some doubts about it.
I would appreciate if you just looked into it a little more because, and again, it took, it first came up, I guess, in the fall, and there were immediate questions we had, but I never could really get them answered. And until last Monday, when I saw that interpretation, that's when I said, well, that is not good. It is not going to be good.
Can we?
And I don't think it's anybody's. I don't know. Apparently, it was just really hard to sort of. I don't know if people don't want to give interpretations, or there's just so much alcohol law, and maybe the person who gave the interpretation hadn't seen the exact resolution or the exact referendum wording, and I'm not sure. But I'm to the point now where I'd be derelict if I didn't come to you and just ask you to maybe look into it a little more and reconsider.
Could we talk to Representative Millis, see if he can give us a little guidance on this, what maybe the state legislature could help us with if we decided to pull it?
Certainly, we can make that request.
I'd rather see us, I know there's another season for some lady that's got a store over there, and I feel for that particular situation. But if I had to wait till the fall, I'd a whole lot rather, I don't know what the answer is. I'd just like for us to vet this in our next meeting and let it be known we're talking about it. I'm certainly not asking for any kind of action tonight. It's out there, and the more I read it, the more unsure I think a lot of times stuff gets written up so you keep it confusing so nobody can attack it. Or you don't have to defend it when it's confusing as heck. We've seen things come down from state before with other agencies.
And I'm not the expert, and I ask if you look into it yourself too, and I'm to the point now where I'm concerned enough where I did want to come ask you to reconsider.
We did. I mean, those people came in here, the town came in here,
Uh-huh.
the folks came in here, so we need to probably, you're right, we need to advertise, at least talk to them, let them have some input and conversation, but it sounds like, it's something we need to take a look at.
Yeah, like I said, we might just leave it right on the ballot, just like it is. But when something's been brought to my attention, and it really worries me more, daggone it, if you make, if I don't, just feel a little uneasy about it. And it may be that a month, the next meeting, we all say, well, you know what, we're comfortable enough with it to move on, but I think we need to vet it. We owe it, and this is something we need to vet in this room.
Well,
right
what
here.
about the name of the person on that letter? Is there any way we might get that individual to come down and, for the
I would
next
ask
meeting?
that. Mr. Sheriff's gonna share everybody he's talked to.
Oh, sure, yes. I mean, it's the email from a, yeah.
It's not like I could bring this up before we talked. I was headed out of town. I got back last night, and Carson and I talked some when I was on the way out of town. But
Mr. Chairman, I agree. We don't want to do something that's going to create havoc for the sheriff here either. So, yeah, I'm totally.
And I think Representative Millis is definitely willing to talk in anything he can do, and I don't know, I guess if that's that 500 person rule, I don't know how that can be gotten around, but,
That was sticking, 500 people, wasn't it, in the town of Thompson?
I thought Topsail was up to 500 permanent now.
And there's some conflicting information on
With
that
the
as
census
well.
versus
That was,
yeah.
right, and so that was also part of what we explored back in the fall, was there were some issues there, but, and I do want to just remind the board, we really can't regulate based on zoning wise whether they serve alcohol or not. That's solely in the hands of the ABC Commission. If it's legal for a business to operate that doesn't serve alcohol, then it's legal for a business to operate that does. That's, it's up to them to decide whether to give the permit or not. And I think part of what the sheriff is through the conversations is, it's not going to be that hard for somebody to get a permit to be
And we keep these places shut because they cannot be permitted. If they're allowed to be permitted, I'm not sure how we're going to handle that.
And I can tell you, people may say, and I'll tell you this, that one of the things is, and I'll give you as much as you want on it at the next meeting, you can go after things as nuisances, but you got to spend a lot of time getting that documented. If they have a permit and then they're operating to establish them as a nuisance, and ALE will work with you on it, but you're talking.
You have to wait for events and incidents to happen
it's like
to show a history.
It's like getting a stoplight somewhere.
You have to wait for
Had
wrecks.
enough bad accidents yet to justify getting.
That's a great analogy. That's
I got
right.
you. Same thing. Motion to go into closed session if y'all are comfortable. We're talking about it next meeting.
All right, you ready?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Please raise your hand and we will go down the hall to do this. And we will be starting on time tonight because I promise you it's going to be packed. So,
When you say start on time,
Closed session.